Yo, what up guys, Travic here, and today I want to talk about one of two possible league starters that I'm currently debating for patch 3.26. Today's video will be about Volcanic Fissure of Snaking, and then the next day or so there'll be a second video about Poison Concoction of Bouncing. These are the two builds that I'm really torn between, and honestly they're both really good and do exactly what you want out of a league starter. They'll be fantastic for the first week of the league. They'll be able to clear all of the content. They should, in theory, be able to handle all of the new content as well. Both Volcanic Fissure of Snaking and Poison Concoction of Bouncing require very little gear to really get rolling, and the gear that really puts them into the next stages of being able to progress into the mid game and early end game isn't usually too expensive. Though I know what you're saying, a lot of players are talking about Volcanic Fissure of Snaking. I've seen Crouching Tuna talk about it. I've seen Fubgun talk about it. I've seen plenty of people prep and play for it. So there is a world where the gear does become a little bit of expensive until maybe mid of the second week or mid of the first week. So like that Tuesday, Wednesday mark of the league start. But overall, let's talk about the build. Let's talk about what's going on, and let's just kind of break down what to expect. If you've never seen Volcanic Fissure of Snaking, it is indeed a slam skill that produces these pillars. And as you see, it snakes all around the screen. I'm trying to press WASD from playing POE 3 so much, but you can see I slam the ground, and Volcanic Fissure of Snaking pretty much just goes and snakes around the map. And it is a really good clear skill, and you can actually like target and have it hit and come back and pretty much hit where you want it to hit if you know how to do some of the targeting. But overall, let's just jump into a very basic Blood Aqueducts because that seems to be everybody's favorite, and take a look at what it looks like in the real time. To play this build, you'll be utilizing War Cries that you'll have automatic War Cries, and you'll self-cast War Cries to give you pretty much empowered attacks, and then your attacks will just walk in a straight line and you'll just blow up everything in front of you without too much of a struggle. Overall, it is a very comfortable skill to play. The clear of it is fantastic, and doing an SSF run, this character currently is level 81 in a solo self-found Settlers League. I've managed to get all the way up to tier 16 maps without any issues at all. I've actually been able to make attempts on the 2-stone. Granted, I am mechanically bad, so I haven't got my 2-stones yet, but I have had pretty good success with this build. In typical SSF fashion, I have 0 alchemy orbs, but I did manage to find Polaric Devastation, a divine orb, and some relatively interesting gear. Overall, I would love to showcase a map to you guys. So currently, like I said, because of my luck, I don't have any alchemy orbs, but we can just roll a very basic map, and we could just kind of go in and see how the build functions inside of a map. Now, when you go into maps and you run your maps and you do your maps, overall, it is a very comfy play style. You're just going to be able to go in, you're going to cast your War Cries every so often. You see they're empowered for 14 attacks, 12 attacks, and you really don't have to press the button that often. You see right away our first pack of mobs instantly blows up, didn't even see it there, and then you just kind of make your way down the line and you just pretty much just blow up packs of mobs. The difference is if you're playing this in a trade environment, you're going to have a way better gear than I have in this SSF run, and it's going to feel super comfy. You'll have a nice axe. You'll have a little bit more health than I have. Currently, I have 3,600 health. Your resistances will easily be capped because, we're just a marauder, man. Things are super simple and easy. And overall, your damage inside of a map feels really good. You won't have too many problems at all, and you can see we can just go through this map. Rare mobs aren't really a problem at all, and we're able to just clear our way through all of the content. Now, I don't want to spend too much time in a map. I know what you guys really want. You want to know about the gear, the POB, how it all works. In my SSF run, to get to tier 16 maps, I didn't have very good gear. I had a very basic 415 DPS axe, not very good at all. It has tier 6 fizz, tier 3 crafted fizz, and that's all that's on this axe. My body armor in this run was just resistances in life. My helmet was just resistances in life, and the same thing for every piece of my gear was just resistances in life. And I did manage to find this wonderful amulet that was in a mirror, and it gave me a billion stats. But overall, that's pretty much it. Now let's grab the POB and take a look at what I have prepared for you guys to help you guys along your way. First and foremost, if you've never downloaded Path of Building before, you're going to need that software so that you can open this up. And this POB if needed, will be updated over the next couple of days. If they make changes some way, somehow to the tree, I will make changes and adjustments. I'm working with a couple of great people that have helped me a lot. Big shout out to my friend POE Hunger and a couple other guys that are really helping me put this all together. Now, if things change, like I said, just keep an eye on the description down below, bookmark this video, and just kind of check back coming up to League Start to make sure nothing's really changed. But overall, once you have Path of Building downloaded and installed, this will be your home base. You'll see that if you click down here on the tree section of things, we have a leveling tree for you guys that'll walk you through every single act and pretty much give you everything that you need to know to get your character up and running to end game or early end game, depending on where you want to go. We actually even have trees. My friends help me make trees up into the mid game, up into the pre-juicer game, and then if you really want to take the build to high-end levels and min-max and just kind of like set everything up and running. But in this video, we're going to focus on the early mapping setup and what you should expect with Volcanic Fissure of snaking. First and foremost, when you're changing your trees and you go to your skills section to see what your skills are, you can do the exact same thing here. You can change your skills and see what your skills should look like in each of the acts, and the same thing with your items. If you notice that things aren't lining up, please make sure that your passive tree matches your item section. So if you're in the early game map section and you have a passive tree set up for a pre-juicer or juicer setup and nothing makes sense, or the strength or dex or nothing adds up, make sure that you're on the correct gear and the correct tree. But now that we have that out of the way, let's talk about skills and gear. First and foremost, Volcanic Fissure of snaking comes out of labs. So you're gonna have to run labs and you're gonna have to hopefully convert a red gem into Volcanic Fissure of snaking. From what I've been told from other people, it is about a 1 in 11, 1 in 12 chance of being able to hit Volcanic Fissure of snaking. When I did this SSF run, I spent about an hour in labs, 45, 50 minutes, maybe trying to get Volcanic Fissure of snaking. And eventually I just gave up and decided that I was going to just play Sunder in the campaign. And if I managed to get Volcanic Fissure of snaking early, I would swap to it. If I didn't, I'll get it at early maps. So this entire guide is based upon you leveling as Sunder until you're able to get the gems. Once you get the gem, you can swap early to Volcanic Fissure of snaking. In my test runs, I actually managed to get very lucky in my second lab, and I got it in Act 8, and I swapped right over, and it felt great, and it was just an absolute pleasure. But as far as the guide is concerned, you will be Act 1 Ground Slam. At the end of Act 1 at level 12, you'll be able to swap to Sunder, and it is set up for you to Sunder through the entire campaign. Once you get to early maps, you'll be swapping to your Volcanic Fissure of snaking, and everything will be straightforward. Something to note about Volcanic Fissure of snaking, it really works well off of war cries. Yes, some people are not going to be happy that it's a piano build, but you will eventually have auto exertion on a bunch of war cries. And as you get deeper into the build and put more links into your gear, you're going to have everything more and more automated, and it is going to feel smoother and nicer to play. Early off in progression, you are relatively socket starved. Your colors are a little difficult. It is a pain in the butt if you SSF the whole way until you start to get rolling. But thankfully, due to trade, we should have fairly simple time getting what we need and just kind of going through the content. But this guide will give you your early maps, your mid-game maps, and your end game, which is always subject to change based upon any changes that come in the next couple of days between now and the release. GGG is notorious for releasing extra patch notes in the upcoming days. So if you're watching this video, something may or may not have changed, check in the description down below, or make sure that you have your notifications and everything turned on for YouTube, because you'll be notified if anything changes, and I'll let you guys know. But this POB will give you everything that you need. Now, in terms of items too, your items, like I had mentioned, my items on this character are not very good at all, and I was able to get to tier 16 maps and clear tier 16 maps without too much trouble at all. But this POB is going to focus on just kind of giving you the basic rundown. You'll be able to get a very basic axe, 500 DPS. This is just literally essence crafted, and it'll be super simple. Helmet, just resistance in life. Body armor, resistance in life. Gloves, resistance in life. Boots, resistance in life. Rings, resistance in life. And you can see it's just a running trend of like a resistance in life across the board. Early off, you can grab Carnage Heart as an amulet to really cover all of those attribute requirements, give you a little bit of extra leech and some resistances, an absolutely beautiful amulet. As we progress through the game and through the mid-game-ish, you want to get a little bit better gear. The first thing that you really want to focus on, or the main thing that you want to focus on with this build, is working your way towards a really nice axe. Your axe is going to be everything. Your axe is going to be the best way to clear content. Your character will feel better and better and better every single time you upgrade your weapon. So make sure that you're constantly upgrading your weapon. Otherwise, it's going to feel like literal poop. There's no other way around it. A really good starting weapon is the Combs Primacy, the Karui Chopper. This weapon does a whole lot for us. It is a whopping 429 DPS with a top end damage of 499, roughly, depending on your role. You get life per kill, you get Calling Strike, you get Rage on hit, and you get extra damage as fire, or Fizz is extra fire damage per point of rage. And that is an absolute monster of a weapon, an absolute crazy monster of a weapon. This will probably carry you really deep into the end game. Other items that are really good besides Resin Life, you can get Reslothus Coil for just a whole lot of extra maximum damage. This will be a really good belt into like your Mage Blood swaps. And the helmet, this is pretty much just an absolute monster of a helmet that you're going to eventually want. I suspect Echoes of Creation is going to be on the extremely expensive side this league, and something that you're just going to work your way towards. I don't expect this helmet to be cheap in the first week or two of the league, but this helmet provides you with a bajillion extra damage and just kind of lets you, get a bunch of war cries in and smack the hell out of, everything. This helmet will essentially allow you to fight any demonic being ever, period, ever, and crush its soul into oblivion. So it's something you want to look forward to. Now, as far as other things are concerned with this character and build, we are indeed playing Berserker. And we're playing Berserker for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, Berserker gives us exerted war cries, or war cries exert twice as many attacks. What that means is that when I'm doing my piano build and I exert my rallying cry, instead of it being 6 attacks, it is now 12. My seismic cry, instead of being 7, is now 14. And that really makes the quality of life of this character pretty much through the roof. On top of that too, because rage is so important, we're going to take Crave the Slaughter, and this is going to give us rage we're going to get extra attack speed per rage pretty much. You're permanently going to have permanent rage. So you're just going to constantly be able to just have Crave the Slaughter, and it is going to give you a 1,000,000,000% extra attack speed, which will make up for the slow attack of the weapon, which is really nice. And then eventually we're going to get Rite of Rune, which will give us 50% increased effective rages. So we get just more attack speed, more everything. And it is just more damage, more speed, more damage is extra. It's overall really good. And then the other thing that Berserker happens to offer to us is 40% more damage. It's just 40% flat more damage. Granted, you take a little bit of extra damage, but we'll fix that with all of our gear, and we're playing softcore, so it doesn't really matter. I have seen people play this in hardcore. It is possible to do it in hardcore. You just need to go a little bit slower, fix your gear, and be more mindful of your surroundings and the maps that you're running. But overall, I really enjoy this character a lot. Key points and things that you should probably keep note of. First and foremost, as you're progressing this character through the end game, you're going to want to cluster. You're going to want to fuel the fight martial prowess cluster. This is going to give you just a little bit more damage, some attack speed, and this is going to give you extra damage and the ability to leech. Something to note while playing this character is this cluster is going to be really impactful because your mana becomes a little tight. Until you have a lot of things on life tap, you really need a way to sustain your mana, and eventually you want to move fully off of life tap and utilize your skills and such. So what I've done is in the early map game swap, I've given you life leech and mana leech here that you can make up with jewels if you manage to find it. But as you progress in the mid game, one of the things you probably want to focus on right away alongside your weapon is the fact that you're going to have this large cluster that's going to give you a little bit of mana leech to solve some of your problems. Another thing too is our medium cluster is going to give us warning call, which is going to give us more armor per war cry, and we're going to get exerted attacks deal more damage, and they're just pretty much going to grant us power, endurance, and frenzy charges. So we're always going to have charges all of the time and just be very strong. Lastly, eventually you're going to want any Doriani jewel. A Glorious Vanity. This Doriani jewel is going to give us Corrupted Soul, which is going to give us 50% of non-chaos damage taken bypasses energy shield, gain 15% maximum life as extra energy shield, and this just gives us another defensive layer that we get to pair up here with Divine Shield, so that 3% of physical damage prevented from hits is regenerated as energy shield per second. So we just get a little bit of extra things to worry about in the mid game. Now, these timeless jewels, the first and foremost thing that you care about is that it is Doriani. It has to be Doriani to give you Corrupted Soul. Outside of that, these little small nodes here will eventually give you some other stuff. You're not too worried about it. If you do manage to get to like the end game juicer spot, you can probably find some nice ones that give you some, you know, some good stuff here, but it's not something really to stress about. And eventually you can work your way down here if you find some really good nodes that give you extra little kicker. But overall, that's pretty much the basics of what to expect with this build. The items and so forth are pretty much all laid out. You should be able to get into the mid game and farm all of the content in the game relatively simple. If you are going for tier 16.5 or tier 17 maps, you're going to need more gear, you're going to need a little bit extra, and you're going to have to push the character a little bit. My overall plan for farming with this character is to push the Atlas, try all of new content, do all of the quest bosses, and park myself in Blight or other various mechanics. Betrayal looks really good. Blight is always a crowd favorite. I will have a Blight video on how to farm with Blight, especially Blight with this character, and that'll be out in the next couple of days. But otherwise, you should be able to get your gear and get everything rolling. The only thing that I'll mention again is it might be a little expensive to get everything that you need due to the fact that it seems that everybody and their mother is playing slams. So if we are all playing slams, don't be mad at me if some of the gear is a little bit expensive. That is just something that may indeed happen. And this might be, you know, a divine or more for the first couple of days of the league. And this helmet might be like super duper duper expensive. But you really don't, like, you need the helmet. You will need the helmet. I don't want to downplay how good the helmet is, but you'll get the helmet when you get the helmet. You just really want to get the weapon and start killing mobs. I think that's everything. I think we covered everything. I think you're all set in stone. If you have questions about the build, you can leave them down below in the description or in the comment section. You can come stop by the Discord. I'll be happy to answer your questions there, and you can come stop by the live stream. I really don't want to keep this video to be like 18, 17 billion hours, but I just want to keep it relatively straightforward. The last thing that I'm going to leave you with is once you move on to this super juicer big end game of this build, you're going to swap off of axes and you're going to work your way into a maul, and you're going to get your mage blood, your progenesis. And my friend POE Hunger managed to give me his POB that he's cleared all of the Ubers with. And while it is not the skill I would take personally into Ubers, it is still a very strong skill, and he made all of his gear by recombinating. So with Recombinator still in the game, it should be relatively easy to craft the weapon and all of the gear that you need. And if you have questions about crafting the weapon or anything, just leave me a comment down below. I'd be more than happy to answer your questions. But in terms of like, I guess making the weapon, you're just gonna like, I'll just show you really quick. It's not gonna be very hard at all to make the weapon. You'll be able to come over here to Faustus. You'll be able to go to the black market. I hope I have some gold. You grab a couple of bases from Faustus. You know, you want to find yourself a nice base. Let's see if we can get like a half decent base. Oh my God. Just sell these. Let's just try to get like a nice base. There we go. That's fine. Okay. So you get yourself a nice base, and then you pretty much, you can just come get a couple of essences of contempt, and you'll be able to like make yourself a really, really, really nice weapon. This will add flat fizz. And then all you're really doing is looking for attack speed and an open prefix, and you're pretty much just good to go. Like this weapon, like this was what, 4 clicks? This weapon's 462 DPS. Come on over here, craft up attack speed. We'll throw on just basic attack speed. And now we're at 519 physical DPS from 4 clicks of an essence. But yeah, it's real, like the weapon in itself and getting rolling before the Combs weapon isn't going to be very hard. Like I said, you're just looking for percent fizz or attack speed and either an open prefix or an open suffix. If this is too confusing for you, let me know. This is 9 essences right here. And in 9 essences, we have a 550 DPS axe. So making the axe is not going to be the problem at all. Yeah, I would be shocked if making the axe was the problem. 602. And this one took 11 essences to make the axe. So we've managed in 11 essences, we've managed to make 3 or 4 axes that are infinitely better than what I had in SSF. So it shouldn't be hard at all. These essences might be a little bit expensive. They might be a couple of chaos each, but it'll be way better than buying a already pre-crafted axe. If you have questions about the axe, please leave a comment down below. I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. But otherwise, that's all I'm going to leave you with for now. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like, a comment, and do all that fun YouTube jazz. And I'll be making sure in the next few days to be able to get out a blade farming guide, a second league starter about poison concoction and bouncing, and we'll see where the league takes us. If anything changes, I will make updates. But otherwise, I'm going to leave it all to you guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.